Proudly presented by Pence Homes and part of the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network. This is Lynx Happy Hour. There we go. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lynx Happy Hour. On this episode of the show, I am joined by my friend and colleague on the Lynx beat, Andrew Dukowitz of the Missing Links podcast on the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network, and of course, the beat writer for Zone Coverage Minnesota. We talk all things Lynx, Liberty, trading deadline, Emma Meesman or not to Emma Meesman. Well, we're not going to Emma Meesman because she's going to New York, but it doesn't matter. We talk other possibilities, recap the game that was on Wednesday night at Target Center, look ahead to the Lynx's challenging August slate, and get into all kinds of miscellaneous fun stuff. And yeah, this will be the last episode of the show before the trade deadline. We might, Andrew and I kind of briefly discussed the possibility of having a special edition live show. Not really sure yet what we're going to do there, but we'll figure something out. We'll have you covered for the trade deadline on August 7th, and it will go better than the trade deadline just did for the Minnesota Twins. That is a flat out guarantee. Sorry for starting with negative shit right off the bat. I regret it already. So anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get into my conversation with my friend, the always delightful Andrew Dukowitz. This is Lynx Happy Hour. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned. This episode of Lynx Happy Hour is brought to you by Pence Homes. The team at Pence Homes has experience working with first-time home buyers, folks selling their first home and buying their next place, to people looking to downsize. With the best tools, technology, and trusted vendors to help with any home project, Pence Homes is a top choice for buyers and sellers. For more info and to set up a time to meet with Nate and the team to talk about your home buying or selling needs, visit pencehomes.com. That is Pence, PentzHomes.com. So the phrase "a rivalry renewed" is kind of an overused sports cliche for a reason. Both Coach Reeve and Coach Brondello were asked this week if Lynx Liberty is already a rivalry. Rivalry is a lot like the word dynasty, where people use it a lot, but we don't really know what it means, and we can't come to a societal agreement on exactly what qualifies. So rivalry renewed doesn't really apply in this case. This is more like a conflict continued. You like that?
I do like that.
This
I love that. That's a good title for a book.
How I woke up this morning as right after, as we were talking before we hit the play button, about our sort of trash day struggles, as you and I share a same trash day. We are talking to, of course, Andrew Dukowitz of the Missing Links podcast on the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network, as well as Zone Coverage. And I was trying to kind of think of how do we phrase this, and that just popped in my head. Really, I wanted to do a full Romeo and Juliet rewriting. It's the English teacher in me. You can't tame it. You can't kill it. Two households both alike in dignity at the fair Target Center where we lay our scene. I don't think we're there yet. Both Cheryl and Sandy were like, I think, this has the ingredients, but like, let's pause. We just got to win this game right now. It is the 10th time these teams have met since the beginning of the 2024 season. We're, of course, talking about the Minnesota Lynx and New York Liberty, who met again, finally, for the first time this season at Target Center last night. Lynx win the game. Liberty had to play without Stewie, without Sabally, without Kennedy Burke, without, the incoming Emma Meesman. Natasha Cloud was apparently sick. I think she looked pretty good, looked like herself.
She was stealing the ball, driving to the hole, and screaming and just doing Natasha Cloud like things. Overall, it was 100-93 nationally televised win on ESPN with fans in the upper bowl going crazy. Andrew, good morning. How are you feeling? And just kind of what's going through your head as you think about the scene that we took in at TC last night?
Yeah, good morning, Terry. I'm glad you also got your trash down to the end of the driveway.
It
We
was
both won. Our wives will be happy for
yes.
another day, and that's all that matters.
It is.
No, I talked about it on the Missing Links podcast last night. I've talked about it a little bit on Twitter too. Of just it was loud last night.
It
Like
was loud.
that was a playoff atmosphere. And even though the players, I would assume on the Liberty side as well, were saying, this isn't a playoff game, it's just another game on the schedule. It's just kind of all that. And K-Mac after the game was pretty funny. I think her rolling eyes counter was at like 3 or 4 for every time they asked about the Liberty and the Lynx playing. She would just kind of like roll her eyes or sigh or shake her head because she's over it, and said as such, tired of this being a storyline. It's just another game. But to the fans in attendance, it wasn't just another game. This was kind of the first time we got to see the Liberty, and the fans were excited to get that revenge. I mean, there was a woman wearing a Minneapolis skyline dress. There was, for real. There was people out there, wearing the Minnesota was robbed, or everyone watched Minnesota get robbed t-shirts. Yep. And in addition to that, the thing that I thought was really powerful was there was a lot of signage of pay the players, a lot of t-shirts saying pay the players. And I think that if I'm looking at this from, 1,000 feet in the air, that's probably the thing I took away the most is like the players are really winning this PR war for this new CBA. And the fans are really behind the players, which gives me hope that this deal will get done and we can avoid a lockout, which I know is completely off topic from the Liberty Lynx matchup last night. But again, looking back on it, I think that's what I'm most encouraged by is just, wow, the fans are really behind the players, and maybe we will have basketball in 2026.
Yeah. Well, that's a more than a fair takeaway. It obviously it was that was present at the game, and you asked Fee about that post game, and she had a great response, and I'm going to play that right now.
Fee, you kind of answered part of my question by saying you black out during the games, but there was a lot of signs saying pay the players, a lot of t-shirts, there's local bars giving out merch to come to the game that said pay the players. I mean, what does it mean to not only just have fans on your side as a player, but also on your side for kind of equal opportunities?
Yeah, I did see that before the game, actually. It's amazing just to know that the fans understand like what we're fighting for, that they're on our side, and that they're so vocal in their support as well. So it's really cool to see that and know that they're backing us as strongly as they are.
Okay, that was Nafisa Collier you just heard. She is not with Andrew and I on the pod right now. The magic of post-production, Andrew. I gotta make a note to actually add that in so that I don't forget, like the trash bins this morning. But yes, you could see. Special shout out to a bar of their own who I know supplied fans with some pay the players signage and shirts after the All-Star break. I think that was the first or second game back from the All-Star break. But now you can see like there's a lot of like clearly just homemade signage and stuff. And also it didn't just apply to CBA negotiations. And by the way, that is always on topic now when we're talking WNBA here in what is the day before August in 2025. The homemade Stewie walked shirts were pretty funny. It was like 4 people, all 70 plus, just in a row, like not being demonstrative or belligerent at all, just like sitting there quietly in their Stewie walk shirts, which I'm like, that's Prairie Home Companion type fan warfare right there. There was one time in the game a fan sitting near where we sit in the press area, kind of like one section over, but like on that corner, so like pretty close by. I think it was during one of the Liberty's earlier free throw attempts, maybe mid first quarter, early second quarter, with the arena fairly. Well, wasn't the Liberty free throw attempts because it would have been loud then. Lynx free throw attempts when it was quiet. Just took the opportunity to yell, "Stewie traveled!" And it's just the type of yes, never let go, Jack. I'll never let go. Never let this go. Even if the Lynx do win the finals and then to win the next 5 finals, they should never let that go. The fans really brought it in all the ways.
I have said it really since I got on the Lynx beat. Lynx fans are just a whole new level of fandom, which I appreciate, and that's why like you doing a podcast, me doing a podcast, Mitch bringing everyone together. Like is important because these fans deserve like any content. I mean, for how little coverage of the WNBA there is, for fans to be this locked in and this behind their team to where they're going out there and making their own t-shirts because like, you know, the Canvas and Fanatics don't make the t-shirts for them. It's impressive. So like shout out Lynx fans because that again, t-shirts, snarkiness, and pettiness aside, that stadium was rocking last night. Like it was loud.
Right. And I mean, that's kind of old hat for Lynx fans. Like this goes back to, 2016 when the Lynx wore, the change starts with us shirts themselves. It was literally the next game that the fans had it turned around and everyone in the arena was wearing matching shirts with the support MN Lynx hashtag as well. So this is Lynx fans, they basically say bet and just go. And I think both on both sides of it. I didn't talk to Liberty coaches and players after the game, but certainly for the Lynx, Coach Fee K-Mac were who we got to talk to immediately afterwards. While like trying to be like, this does just feel like another game now. Like let's kind of not engage in the finals rematch of it all. They made sure to mention like the fans were incredible and they like the fans felt like a finals game. But also this probably should have happened earlier in the season. These games should probably be spread out a little bit more. And then Fee asked us to ask Kathy Engelbert these questions, which we may or may not get the chance to if her media tour takes her to Minneapolis. She was here for the Commissioner's Cup, but we did not get commissioner access at that occasion. That's neither here nor there. Should we talk about the game?
Yeah, let's talk about the game. That sounds like a good idea.
Let's talk about the game. I know the fans love the shout outs and negotiations and shit too. Gotta talk about them. But there was a basketball game last night between two of the best basketball teams on the planet. And it featured the best basketball player on the planet right now in Nafisa Collier, who put a second consecutive 30-point game on the books. In her last 2 games, even though I know the previous game was a loss, I don't care. We're just talking about MVP right now. And I think the only thing that can stop her from winning this award now is injury. I think it's a one-horse race otherwise. We can talk more about that. But these last 2 games, 62 points, 25 of 34 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, 17 total rebounds, 9 total assists, 5 total steals, and 5 total block shots. Yeah.
The defensive
5
player of the year.
Game. That's pretty, the only thing we're dreaming of 50, 40, 90 earlier this season. And then the 3-point kind of took a dip. That's coming back a little bit. Unfortunately, the free throw is going down a little bit with that wrap on her left shoulder that we will continue to believe is nothing until Fee says otherwise. But just another phenomenal Fee MVP performance last night, just adding to the legend one game at a time here.
What is the most impressive for me, and it's one of those things that you know, you look at the box score and 11 for 16, like, wow, she had a good shooting night. The Liberty were throwing everything at her. They had Jonquel Jones matched up on her as the primary defender almost the entire game. They were throwing double teams at her. They were doubling her off of pick and rolls. They were throwing corner help in, wing help in. I mean, Sandy was literally throwing everything she could. Every scheme, every defense. They went into zone a couple times, and it just didn't matter. I mean, none of it did. When Fee wanted to score, she got to the rim at will, or she got a wide open three. And that's almost impossible to do. Like when a entire team is saying, and it switched in the second half where it got even kind of more egregious, where the first half Fee had a great half, and then the second half, you know, the Liberty obviously went into halftime and said, this is ridiculous. We can't have Fee just like dog walk us. And they start, like, when Fee drove, they closed both corner helpers in, leaving two corner shooters open. And it worked for about 8 minutes. I mean, that's about it. And then the Lynx figured out how to break that. They started getting the ball back to Fee in the fourth quarter, and she just dominated again, despite the help, despite everything. And that's probably the most impressive to me, because we know what she can do as a defender. She's the defensive player of the year. But offensively, I mean, Cheryl said it after the game of, like, she's kind of just a cheat code. Like
Yeah.
she's kind of unstoppable. There's nothing you can do. I think Cheryl's exact quote was like, if you take away her right, she'll go left. If you take away the spin, she'll go up and under. If you take away the inside, she'll go outside. She's kind of morphed into this near perfect offensive player, which is terrifying if you're playing the Lynx, because what do you do to stop her? And on a night where Courtney Williams goes 1 for 13, BC goes 3 for 9, even though she hit a couple big ones.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't matter because Fee was so great. And then the other side of it is, when this team does click all together and Fee is having these games. I mean, BC is a very good 3-point shooter. At some point, she is not going to be going 3 for 8. She will have a game where she goes 6 for 8. At most games, Courtney isn't going 1 for 13, I would argue.
Right.
This was a you know, all things considered, a weird offensive performance by the Lynx in general, but Fee still just dominated.
Right. It's kind of hard. Like, if you just look at certain things, obviously you get 30 from Fee and 24 from K-Mac. You're in a pretty good position to win. But like some of the things you said, like, okay, so BC did hit 3 threes, but with, you know, 3 for 9 overall. Courtney going 1 for 13. You're kind of like, oh well, they got to 100. Like, where did the rest of the points come from? And, you know, Jess and T were huge off the bench. This felt like kind of the comprehensive performance that they really needed after a game like Sunday against Atlanta. And a stat that does need to be brought up here is Lynx 23-5 and are 5-0 coming off of those 5 losses. You're like now flirting at the point where, will this team lose back-to-back games all season? And if you avoid losing back-to-back games, it bodes pretty well for the playoffs. So this team's ability to respond and get back to, you know, not like stack L's or subpar performances is really important. Courtney, you mentioned 1 for 13, but 13 assists, 9 rebounds, just 1 turnover. I thought she was mostly spectacular.
Yep.
And maybe of those 13 shot attempts, maybe only 1 or 2 where it was kind of like, okay, early in the shot clock, like, you don't have, you know, it's not going to go, like, not that you know it's not going to go in, but that shot she did make from the field, huge 3, and 3 of 4 from the line as well. You know, Courtney's going to keep shooting and not be discouraged, but I thought overall, like, at least 10 or 11 of those shots are shots you want her taking.
Yes. I really there was only one that I had a problem with, and it was like with 2.5 minutes left. She shot with like 14 seconds left on the shot clock, and I was like, Courtney,
Didn't
what?
they didn't they
Stop
get
it.
the rebound on that possession though?
They did get the rebound on that possession. Then they shot it with 11 seconds left,
But they
which
made didn't
also
they make it? I
I
forget
don't
who's
remember if they made it or missed it.
I thought they scored.
I remember I was very grouchy at that moment when you were sitting next to a very grouchy Andrew Dukowitz, putting his best Kent Youngblood hat
Never.
on
Hey,
too.
we have to collectively be grouchy at like different times to make up for the loss of Kent, our guiding light and everything over there. But
But
yeah,
Courtney, what I would say is, the thing that she did. I mean, first off, 13 assists, one turnover is wild,
yeah,
especially when your shot isn't going to continue to be that locked in is insane.
mhm,
But the thing that impressed me the most, she pulled down a rebound. I think it was a 4-point game, and then she got fouled. And when you're shooting 1 for 13 to go to the free throw line and hit two of the biggest free throws in the game, just
right.
not a doubt in her mind, not a doubt in anyone's mind that they were going in. That is just so impressive because if she would have went 1 for 2, I don't think anyone would have blamed her on the shooting night that she had, but she didn't. She knocked them both down. That I think I would be willing to say that those were the biggest free throws of the game that kind of put that lead back out into double, 2 scores.
Mhm.
And asked Cheryl about it afterwards, and unfortunately, Courtney's still not going to be getting the inbound pass at end of game situations. So,
Right.
what do you do?
Maybe one day. But yeah, that was a big play by her, and also matched Fee, game high 9 rebounds. No one on the John Quell led the Liberty with 7. Lynx out rebound the Liberty 41-31. Obviously there are pretty good post players who weren't part of this game that could factor in to future meetings, but you still got to get the job done. And the Lynx took care of business in that area. I think on just this topic, it was scary for a second. If you blinked at a certain time in the fourth quarter, you probably started to blink with the Lynx up 15, and by the time your eyes were open, they were only up by 4. That was a little crazy and a little just like, this isn't actually happening, is it? That kind of grit and shot making from the Liberties what caused Sabrina Ionescu to say this honestly, if there's such a thing as a good loss, I think this is it, which fair. She went nuts in the fourth, but when it was down to 4, 92-88, Fee gets the ball and just gets tough bucket and one. It's back to 7, and I think it yo-yoed between 7 and 9 the rest of the way, including clutch free throws by Courtney and solid play all around. So that was kind of Fee, the biggest basket of the night for me for Fee. That's like, all right, like I just have to fucking score right now.
Yeah.
And she did, and she got the foul and she hit the free throw, and the Lynx won the game. And
Yeah, I mean, on the Liberty missing players, like I think it would have been a different game, obviously, if Stewie was in there and Sabali was in there. I don't necessarily think the Lynx would have lost it. I think it just would have been different. I
yeah,
think instead of that lead growing to 15, it may have grown to 7, and
right. It's a waste of time to even.
instead of 4, it was a tie or something like that. I mean, the Liberty had a good game. Like
Yeah,
Sabrina was awesome. I don't know if Johannes is getting you 14 points again. Um, I,
I,
I mean, you even look at Harrison off the bench, 7 of 10
yeah.
for 15. I mean, there was a lot of weird things that happened
Easy
that,
was fantastic. Not
yeah,
a great Phoebich game. And then John Quell 12-7. That's making John Quell look fairly human, more so than usual. She goes 5 of 7 from the field, hit both of her 3-point attempts. Um, but that's a good segue into there were 21 minutes almost of game time between points for Jonquel Jones. Most of it with a masterclass in defense by Alana Smith. And we haven't said Alana's name yet because I was saving it for some kind of grand finale of this game, whatever. I thought Lan was just insane last night on Jonquel, but also on anyone she was guarding. If they got her off Jonquel, there was a period where she blocked Johannes corner 3 attempt right in front of us into about the second or third row, and then on the ensuing inbound just played perfect one-on-one defense on Jonquel. One of Jonquel's 2 misses, shot goes off the rim, Lynx get the rebound and going the other way. And when you factor in that Lana just gets hit by a train every single game, and it's how much pain she's always playing with, I just, that was that type of performance was like a privilege to watch. And I know she did post-game member photos with select season ticket members, whoever's lucky enough to have it be their game. So she didn't talk to us, but yeah, I think there was an argument to be made that Smith was the player of the game, and also proof why Reeve doesn't give a flying F about the plus minus category, because I don't understand how she ends up being a -7, but everything else, the eye test was amazing, and I think she's a first team all defense easy selection, and maybe a DPOI candidate as well.
I think she'll get votes. I mean, it's. I was kind of musing about it the other day on my pod of just what does Smith do that is her superpower? Because she's not a super above average rebounder. She's really good at getting steals, but I wouldn't say she's the best post poker in the world. And she's a good shot blocker, but she's probably top 5, not the best to ever play the game. And I think what Lan does so well is she's just always annoying. I mean, if you just look at how she plays, her positioning is perfect at all times. A player like Jones, I mean, how many post touches are they actually going to get in a game? 8? And Lan probably blows up 3 of them. That's annoying. That's annoying. Right. She kicks the ball. She gets deflections. She does all of the little nitty gritty things that are really frustrating if you're an offensive player. And then she gets hit in the face and it looks like she's dead, and she just gets up again, which is also if you're an offensive player, kind of annoying that the person that's making your life miserable also just won't go away. I mean, she was also 5 of 5 for all 12 of her points in the first half when the Lynx desperately needed scoring. I don't know if I would say this is the best Alana Smith game I've seen, because there's been some offensive games where she's insane, but I don't know how she does what she does defensively. To give up that kind of size and still be effective is kind of wild. And she does it every single night, and every single night she's successful, which I kind of agree. I think she'll get DPOY votes. I think she's the easy first team defense center. And I mean, I don't know. I'd like to get your opinion on it. Just, do you think Alana Smith would be anywhere near this successful if Cheryl Reeve wasn't her coach? If she was playing on a different team?
Yes, I do. I think, I mean, Cheryl obviously helps a lot, and these last season and this season have been pretty remarkable. But the reason why she's here is because Fee said that she's one of the people she likes playing against the least from, they've played against each other, multiple places, but primarily in Chicago in 2023. So, Lan got most improved player votes that year, and was huge for Chicago in a lot of ways. That obviously was kind of a train wreck of his season with Coach Wade leaving for Toronto halfway through, and just a lot of stuff happening. But yeah, I mean, she has Reeve as her coach, and she plays next to Fee, so like both of those things help. But I think like, you know, she's elevating Fee's game in ways, and I think Cheryl just knows exactly what to do with her. But this was coming. You know, I spent a long time chronicling what took place in Smith's career after she got cut by the Indiana Fever, all the way up until, you know, last playoffs when we asked about it, and she said, "I'm so happy they cut me because now I'm going to the semifinals and that team's not." And then said the words "mic drop" instead of actually dropping the mic, which isn't the same as a mic drop, but I love the intention. I think the mic was on a stand, so it wasn't really droppable either. But yeah, I think she was, you know, coming into her own as like a force in this league anyway. But I think this has just kind of been the setup that puts her in a spot to be at the top of her game, top of the league, and more blocks than anyone in the league not named Asia Wilson or Ezzy Megbagor right now. And that's a good thing to do.
Yes. That's a good place to be.
Right. Well, and asking about too, like, we don't get deflections as part of our box score. The Lynx do. And Reeves said after the game that Smith led them with 7 deflections last night. And so I think just her knowing how to get hands on everything, and also, like you said, to be annoying, get under the skin of players, take them out of their games. You know, Jonquel didn't miss too many shots, but like if I don't care who's not playing or who is playing, you can live with 7 shot attempts from Jonquel in a game like that, and I guarantee you she will get more shots up than that the next time these teams play on August 10th.
Hopefully. I mean, from the Liberty standpoint, they got to be like, we played one of the smallest teams in the league and our giant center got 7 shots.
Right. So we'll see. But I mean, if Land's down there, it's not really, you know, the post and down low, it's high percentage shots, but not if you're being guarded by Alana Smith.
Correct.
So anything else from the game last night?
I think the other thing I would just point out, because I've already seen it on social media, and you know, Sabrina had, if you're just looking at the box score, a good game. 11 of 20, 3 of 8 from 3, got to the line 5 times, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 31 points. She was only -3 in a 7-point loss. Her night looked like it sucked. Like, BC and K-Mac did such a good job just hounding her, to where the shots she was making oftentimes were pretty difficult shots. I think she had like 2 or 3 just like she cooked them and broke her way to the rim and got a layup. But outside of those, I mean, it was probably 17 really well defended shots. She didn't turn the ball over a lot, just 1 turnover for Sabrina, but the ball pressure was really good all night. Yeah. I just think the Lynx defense should get a lot of flowers this game for how they guarded everyone. I mean, I guarantee you Sabrina today is probably having some ice packs or some treatment done because of what BC and K-Mac did. And, you know, the plays that kind of stuck out to me the most, just watching some clips back and last night, was just BC. I mean, she is such a next level defender when she's locked in. Right. And to have, you know, K-Mac is probably your best guard defender on this team, but then to also have BC who can guard 1 through 4 and do it at an incredibly high level. I also think there's a case for BC to get like an all-D second team. And I know you've been on that train for 2 years now, but basically. I would agree with you.
Right. Yeah, that's his top 10. Yeah. I'd have to go through the full balloting, but she certainly is, worth. I mean, and K-Mac too. Like,
Yeah.
both of them are such good perimeter defensive players, which is like what we mentioned when talking about the game on Sunday. Just both of them having off or weird offensive games to where Cheryl felt like she needed to replace both of them. And then you kind of just see these, lanes to the basket partying like the Red Sea for Atlanta Dream players to attack. And it's just like, oh, what's happening? Oh yeah, BC and K-Mac are both on the bench. Yeah, I think this is why you can't just look at point totals and be like good defense or bad defense. Cause I think there is certainly stretches in there that the Lynx would want back, and I'm sure they're probably looking at the film right now as we speak, doing our nonsense. But I think that's probably true. I think 17 of Sabrina's 20 attempts were well defended. I think Cheryl would probably counter with like 13 or something. Because there is, she hit some deep threes, kind of those ones where like, like she's the only one who can shoot a shot and I won't be like too high. Her and Diamond Miller. When I see Diamond Miller's like deep three, like almost touching the moon, I'm like, it's going in. Sabrina does it with a little bit more, she's a little bit more prolific in that area though, just a tad. So there's like some of those where, especially from our angle, like we're on the corner, if you don't know where the press area is in the target center, and we're pretty low as well. So that basket stanchion like kind of blocks a lot of what's happening for when the action's at the basket right in front of us. So there was a couple where like Sabrina would just be cutting to her left, our right, disappear from view, and then you just see the ball super high in the air, and it's like, that's fucking going in. And it's like, did she release that from behind the line, or like where Marnie and Leah are sitting, like up at the top of section 111? Like, it's hard to tell. And Sabrina is one of those players, you kind of just always have to have eyes on her, and can make splash from absolutely anywhere on the court. So yeah, I think that point total and some of those shots are things that are going to get evaluated today and tomorrow and for always. But yeah, you look at like 193, like, oh, 31 point fourth quarter, that's too much. Like, yeah, it is. But like, you kind of look at, not to get all like football guy terms in here, but like if you think of like the second and third quarter going into halftime and also coming out of halftime, is sort of, like what they say especially in college football, like the middle eight, like the last 4 minutes of the second and first 4 of the third is where the game's really decided. This sort of that midsection, that was like where like they couldn't get Jonquel a good look if they tried. That was 21 minutes of consecutive game time, and that just allowed you to just eat on the perimeter, and Phoebich couldn't get anything going down low either. So yeah, I think there is, players on the Liberty who ate. We mentioned Izzy Harrison having a really good offensive game. She's coming into her own as a really good player. Cloud got it going early. Probably the illness slowed her down a little bit. Natasha Cloud, another player who is human, despite, some evidence that suggests otherwise. But yeah, I think what you said, that the team defense, like collectively, that's what we asked them about this last night, just like the partnership. There's like the feed land partnership, BC KMAC partnership, obviously, and that's just the stuff you get with continuity and keeping teams together and not blowing everything up every offseason or anytime you can trade someone, which can get us into trade deadline talk. What a segue that I wasn't even planning on. Oh man, the trade deadline is looming hard. A week from
7.5 days.
What, do you know exactly what time of day the trade deadline is?
If it's like the NBA, it's like 4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
So I would assume it's like that.
Are you gonna go live for like the last hour?
If people want me to,
should we
if nothing happens with the Lynx, that's going to be a boring trade deadline where I'm just live sitting there.
It could be a boring trade deadline anyway, because so Cheryl was asked about this at practice on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just the deadline, gestures at everything. Because we need a soundbite with the full understanding that Cheryl's not gonna be like, oh yeah, I just got off the phone with the Sparks. We're talking about picks and I don't know who they traded for on the Sparks. That team popped in my head. But we're obviously not gonna get that. I do think there's a lot of talk going on amongst teams in the league. It's just hard because, as Cheryl pointed out, a move for a star player this year comes with, just even more likelihood that that player is gone in the offseason.
Yep.
With so many moving parts and things that are hard to predict. So I don't know what's going to happen, but
she made a really good point that teams trading away a star player are asking for the normal star player price. Like, oh, you're going to rent this person and they'll probably resign, but everyone's a free agent. So they probably won't resign because every team is going to have 10 roster spots.
And there's two more teams you're competing with.
Exactly. The other thing that I thought she didn't touch on, but I've been kind of curious about is anyone on a rookie level contract, I think, is untradeable because that contract in the new CBA is going to be peanuts compared to what these players are going to make. So if you're on a rookie level contract, you're never getting traded. Like Diamond Miller on next season's team making what she's going to make, she might be the least paid player on the Lynx, like outside of Kosu. I just think it's hard to trade for anyone. I think where the Lynx have an advantage is they have Carly's salary slot that they can trade. They have Diamond, who makes 80,000, I think, or something like that, and they have 40,000 in cap room, so they can get up to like 225,000 and theoretically trade for almost any salary in the league. And then they have some good picks. I mean, they have all of their own picks kind of going out into the future, but they have that Chicago pick, which, to be clear, do not trade that Chicago pick. That is a gold mine. Don't do it. Cheryl, if you're listening, Carly, if you're listening, tell Cheryl, don't trade it. But hypothetically, if they were to, they can put a really good package together. So if the Lynx are sitting there going, we are one player away, and Asia Wilson is telling Vegas, yeah, I'm not coming back. I'm going to go play in LA. The Lynx might have the best package to get someone like that. It's just my hesitancy with trading for a starting level player is this team's top 7 are so intertwined with each other. I mean, and if you go and trade for a really good backup point guard, T and Court are awesome. If you trade for a really good wing, BC and K-Mac, I mean, they both play 30 plus minutes a night. I don't want to take minutes from them.
That's why we have been so in love with Mabry, because it's essentially the trade the Sun did last year for a player who starts.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going to come off the bench. And
correct.
He clearly does some things that, it's like similar to like BC and K-Mac, of course. But
Mabry is kind of the player that I still have hope that might be in the work.
Not with Chicago's pick included. That's got to be.
But if it's Carly and Diamond,
if it's you would have to give them some capital to take on that salary, and that if that's a 2027 first, I'm fine with it.
Right, like if it's Carly and Diamond is the quote unquote asset player. I did the bunny ears for audio listeners. And you're throwing in that 2027 first round pick and you get Mabry back, who can play 20 minutes a game exclusively when BC and K-Mac are off. One of them's off the court. I think that's an A+ move. If it's anything other than something like that, I really struggle because, I've seen people throw out like post players that would be good to pick up. And it's like, okay, who are they playing over? Are you going to, Jess is probably a starting caliber center playing off the bench. Are you going to cut Jess's minutes to 0? Are you going to cut Land's minutes? She's a DPOY candidate. You can't cut fees. I mean, fee is untouchable. So where does that change happen?
You can play bigger and give. I think you can play both BC and KMAC fewer minutes without it being like, oh, they're cutting minutes. It's like, hey, we've got a lot of basketball left and the whole playoffs. I think Cheryl would be happy with playing her starters a little bit less. So that's like, I think you could bring in a player like Aaliyah Edwards and it doesn't like harm the synergy. It's honestly like, if you were to make the trade, like, this isn't going to happen. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. Don't yell at us. It's not going to happen. They're not going to do it. But to use a hypothetical, like what you just threw out for Asia, that's that's harder to figure out what to do.
That's the deal. I would
off the bench, and they'd be like, "Hey, Land, thanks for being a warrior for the last 2 years. Does everything hurt? Yeah, I bet it does. Now watch other people start in your place." When we're talking about, because they were in for Emma Meesman, and I mean, not confirmed, but I have it on pretty good authority that money was the determining factor here, which New York has more of. Emma obviously has connections aplenty on both teams, and also what Cheryl mentioned in that first press conference after the news came out, that the flight from Europe to New York was better for mom. Emma Meesman's mom, power broker in this scenario, but and we probably won't get, official numbers like totally public for a while, if ever, but just looking at the cap sheet, like, New York can offer twice as much money. And I think that's what happened. And she's going to be a Liberty and not a Lynx. But even when we were thinking about that, some people were asking, like, oh, like, what's going to happen when you have to, like, take someone out of the starting lineup? And I was like, they're not taking anyone out of the starting lineup.
No,
like,
the starting lineup is lost.
Emma will get a lot of minutes and a lot of work, but she's not starting over Land. Not right away. It's like, if you wanted to, like, you could go big, and she could get some of Bridget's minutes, whatever. But yeah, I never pictured this team with Emma Meesman in the starting lineup. And maybe that was part of it too. I mean, now it's the path towards starting minutes in New York is pretty clear with the bone bruise that Stewie's dealing with, in addition to all their other just injury concerns. We'll see when she plays. I believe she's now in New York, like physically in the States. So I imagine things have been taken care of from a paperwork standpoint to an extent. But anyway, I don't think that's to say anything that affects the starting lineup is not going to happen.
I think where it's tough for me is the new CBA. I think makes this deadline, because if you're trading for a player as a rental and it's a starting caliber player, they have to be okay going into an off season where they could make a ton of money playing a six woman role, a bench role, 20 minutes a night role. And I don't think there's a lot of players in the league that are that would take that deal. Obviously, like, if you get traded, like, you're going to go to where you get traded to and you're going to make the most of it and all of that stuff. Like, players it's not the NBA where Kevin Durant can torpedo a deal. But I think Cheryl has a very acute awareness of what players would sulk in that situation and could avoid those players. Yeah. Again, it's why since day one I've been on the Mayberry train, as she would just be awesome because she seems pissed off no matter what. And I don't know if she's capable of sulking because she's just filled with rage.
Right. She's just raging no matter what. And if you're Mabry too, like, one day you're on the like 4 and 104 Connecticut Sun. Wake up the next day and now you're on the number 1 team in the league. Like, yeah, that's worth coming off the bench.
Yeah.
So, and she did that for a very, very different Connecticut Sun team last year. And it worked out pretty well. That was a very, very closely contested series between themselves and the Lynx. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we'll go live. I don't know if it'll be that much of a lively trade deadline, but
if something crazy happens, I will probably pop in for like a 20-minute.
There'll be some emergency episodes for sure.
Yeah.
To come.
I don't think the trade deadline will be one of them.
Sure. But we'll see.
I do think what I would add is I do think they will make a move though. Like, I don't know what that move will be. I think the Yvonne 7-day that they can swing into another 7-day and sign her for the rest of the season. I think that's probably likely. And then I do think they're going to try and figure out like a wing defender or another post defender that they can sign in. Maybe that doesn't get a ton of minutes, but at least is an insurance policy in case something goes awry. I am just really curious about that Carly salary slot too, because I know that she's really well liked on the team. Like, everyone speaks very highly of her. Even Yvonne coming in was like, Carly's my favorite. I'm excited to hang out with Carly.
Right. Yeah.
Because they played together in, oh God, what country? BC, Yvonne, and Carly all played together in
Turkey,
Points at Terry.
They played together in Turkey, didn't they? And then she also
Turkey.
And it was a different. It wasn't Fenerbahce. She has played for Fenerbahce before, but I think it was the Turkish club that Carly and BC just played for, which is escaping me right now. I will look it up, but yes.
So I kind of wonder about that too, of like, you have this salary slot that you could attach a pick to and get an asset back, but also, is that going to like bum out the team seeing like their buddy get traded out of their apartment complex? And is it worth it? Is it worth it to get rid of the vibes to bring in a bench player? I think the Lynx are just kind of in this really weird situation where they're so good. I mean, obviously, number 1 team in the league, 23-5. We should probably say that a few more times in this pod. They're so good that is anything worth messing up the chemistry of this team? I would tend to say no. Bring in another safe person and roll it out in the playoffs and see what happens.
Simsa CBK Mersin. I don't know. MERSIN in Turkey.
Inglorious Bastards reference for anyone that's listening.
No,
Buongiorno.
Oh man, now the title of this episode can be Gorlami.
Gorlami.
Oh man. God, what a great scene from a great movie. No, I agree. I think chemistry obviously is a concern always and should always be, but at the same time, like Cheryl's like, it's a business. You don't like it to say it's a business, but it is a business. Those weren't her exact words, but like, there's a humanity part to it, and then there's also like, we gotta win. And because, if this was next year and we're just like, all right, the CBA is what it is for the foreseeable future, and if Carly was under contract next year, then that affects the way you go about it. But it's a way to move cap room around, and there's teams that might want to take on salary for any and all forms of future draft capital. So at the end of the day, I don't know how much one trade like that, I don't think that would be a fully like seismic trade that would Carly would be missed, and she's been great with media this entire time too.
Yeah.
And is just, clearly a good, smart person and fun to be around. But, it's not like it's breaking the band up.
Correct.
If you make that move. So
one more CBA comment really quick. Can you imagine if Kosu 2 years from now is actually like really good and she's on like a second round past CBA contract? You have like a starting small forward making like $60,000 a year and everyone else is getting paid bank.
We're getting so into Moneyball right now. That's why aren't the Sun doing that? The Sun should just be collecting rookies and second-year players.
Because then they can go out and offer some of the, like if the Sun had 7 rookie scale contracts and then whatever the new salary cap is.
Well, you can't have 15.
But like
12.
they have like 7 rookie scales. They could offer 5 starters, probably more than any team in the league is going to be able to offer them. Like I've been thinking about that all last year of like, if I was a terrible team, what would I do? Like I would get draft picks and I would do anything I could to get team controlled contracts for the next 4 years.
Right. And in a way that is simple. Well, it's not simple, but it's a clear direction. Connecticut should be on the phone with fucking everybody right now. I don't know. Like who was I talking? I was on was it with Lockdown Women's Basketball? Or no, we were just chatting. God,
it wasn't even a podcast. This didn't even get put into the ether.
I need to stop podcasting because everything feels like a podcast now, and that's just absolutely pathetic at this day and age. No, you weren't there yet. It was at the media meal last night, and I was just like, God, what do you do if you're Seattle? Like, does Seattle try to make the Mabry trade? But also, are they close enough where you believe that you're a player like Mabry or another player like that on the block away from winning a championship? Because if you think all that does is get you firmly in the 3-4 range, then I don't know that you make that trade. Unless you feel like you're a regime that doesn't have job security. I don't know enough about the situation in Seattle, but like if you're Seattle, Vegas, Indy,
Atlanta
for sure. Are you convinced enough that trade gets you meaningfully closer to making the finals? And
I think what's so tough is the Liberty and Lynx are both so far better than those teams. Like there is a 1A, 1B in Liberty Lynx. And then I think you just skip the number 2 altogether and kind of go to 3.
But all you need to do is convince yourself that the Liberty are hurt and the Lynx aren't good.
Right.
I'm not saying that. So like that's me pretending to be a dumb GM saying that.
Yeah. No, you're right though. That's kind of what's tough though, is you have to convince yourself that the 2 teams that are clear and ahead away are going to have something happen or aren't good. Whereas like normally there's just like one team that's clear. All right, that's the best team in the league. Everyone else kind of has a crack at it if there's an injury. But with the WNBA, it's the Lynx and Liberty are so good.
Right. And if you're the Aces, you've already traded everything. You're not very good. You should be, but you're not. That's not saying Asia's not very. Asia's still very, very good.
Asia's a very good basketball
somehow
player.
The Las Vegas Aces aren't very good right now. I don't know what they could make. People like, so it's kind of like Mabry and Enrique are the names that, like, I don't know if a bigger star will get moved.
Yeah.
But if Seattle acquires Enrique somehow, I don't know what it would take. But Paige and Enrique are playing much better in Dallas now. So if you're Dallas, you could lose Enrique for nothing in the offseason. But also if and Paige isn't the only, but JJ Quinterly and Isaiah James are playing great basketball down there.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to disrupt the flow of your young players getting better? Because that's all you should be worried about if you're the Dallas Wings, is those players developing and not hating being part of that organization. And I don't think any of them hate it right now, which is good because they're down there in the standings. But if you trade Enrique just for like picks, what does that then do for what you're trying to accomplish for the rest of the season? I don't know.
And Seattle, if you get Enrique, like, are you at that top level now? I mean, we've just seen that she can't play with a ball dominant point guard very well.
I don't think there's a move within reason that pushes anyone other than Phoenix into the top two. And that's just because Phoenix has a ton of talent. I've questioned the Mercury are kind of a mess, but they're a very, very talented mess.
Yes.
And there's, things that they could do where I'd see it, but I'm lower on them. Some people are just like kind of like already putting them at the same level as the Lynx and Liberty. That I'm not there yet. You are, but I think this in terms of roster talent, they're closer to that level.
I would agree with that
than either Atlanta or Seattle. Will be interesting to see what Golden State does, because they were like, absolutely make the playoffs in your expansion year. Just do it. Don't like think about this like, oh, is it actually good to make the playoffs or not?
No, make the playoffs. If you can make the playoffs, make the playoffs.
Now that Kayla Thornton's out for the year, does that change anything? Oh, Brittany Sykes with Washington is the other player that I think is gettable. All-star Brittany Sykes. I know she wasn't included originally, but she's an all-star. That was a ridiculous omission. So Brittany Sykes could, like, if Phoenix tomorrow acquires Brittany Sykes, I'm like, oh. But if anyone else, then I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
The volume and inflection of when I say true will tell you,
Does anyone ever put the inflection on the H and O? Oh.
I don't think I've ever made the sound I just made before in my life. I don't know, Andrew. I don't know what kind of trade would elicit that or what, but we'll see. I think that's a great sign that we need to stop podcasting now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
But a great Lynx win on a Wednesday night at Target Center. Lynx fans, you absolutely brought it. That was fun. So I know the team said thank you in all the ways that they do, but we're saying thank you because some of our colleagues have to cover games in arenas that aren't nearly as full of life and energy and joy and fun and good vibes. And that makes it fun to go to work and sometimes even just forget that you're at work. It's like, we're just at a basketball game. This is awesome. And
it quite literally is awesome to be able to cover basketball. And I also get the occasional story of like attendance was 3,500 last night. And it's like, wow, we doubled that. That would be a weird game to go to.
35. Oh, at another game.
Yeah, at outside of Lynx game. Right. And it's like, wow, yeah, that would be really weird to go to a game
Lynx, where I have the paper box score in front of me because I'm old school. The announced attendance was 10,824, a technical sellout because they opened that ring of the upper bowl. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's managing that arena is difficult because you can't just open the upper bowl. There's so many things included in making that operational, and blame the 1980s businessmen who decided to put more seats in the upper bowl than the lower bowl, because no one wants to pay money to sit closer to the action. Anyway, just a hair under 11,000 at the game last night. That's what was available for seating, and every single one of you brought it.
They did. They
Another
brought it.
night with 10,824 of our best friends. And
Yep.
that's a great place to be. Andrew Dukowitz at ADuke, MN, Missing Links podcast, Hitting the Hardwood Podcast Network, zone coverage when he's not out there saving lives. So
Something like that.
honor to share the mic with you, my friend. Anything else before you get out of here?
Terry, it's a pleasure. That's all I got.
Excellent. All right. Well, I will see you next time we do something in person, which will be next week. I need to recalibrate a little bit, but thankfully we have a day off here. And then Links at Aces. You were just in Vegas for about 9 years covering Summer League, so I know you're not already headed back there.
Nope, I will be not in Vegas again until next July.
Jesus. Vegas in July. That gets
bad. It's so bad.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know what's gonna get me. I've say it like I haven't been to NBA Summer League before, but I don't know what needs to happen for me to willingly cover Summer League, but it's in the cards. So if someone's offering pay for play, why can't we can get NIL deals now as writers, right? That just applies to everyone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we could get a shoe deal or something.
Get me an NIL deal that, like, all right, here you get $9 per Summer League write up. And you will pay for the flight, but you have to fly Spirit. And then I'm just like, all right, it's not going to happen. The deal's dead. We'll see. But anyway, trade deadline coming up. The next time this podcast posts will be post trade deadline, or maybe I'll do a special Links happy hour trade deadline thing at a happy hour. And
yeah, you'd have to if you want to cap trade deadline.
Sure. The Lynx don't have a game that day. So, I mean, someone does. I wanted to look this up. This is the part of the podcast where I look things up. There are three. So there are 3 games that day. The Dream play the Sky in Chicago. The Sun play the Sparks in Los Angeles, and the Fever play the Mercury in Phoenix. So yeah, the deadline has to be like 4 p.m. sometime. Those are all night games. I know we're done with camp days now, but anyway.
Yeah.
What am I even talking about this morning more? All right, let's end the podcast.
Podcast over.
Thank you.
Clacky
Andrew.
Thing from the movies.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Andrew.
Anytime, man.
Thank you again to Andrew Dukowitz for joining me on the show today. Thank you to Mitchell Hansen and the Hitting the Hardwood Podcast Network. Special shout out to Pence Homes and the team. Go to pencehomes.com right now for all your home buying needs. And thank you, Lynx fans, for tuning in to another episode of Lynx Happy Hour. I hope you had a great time. Thank you so much to everyone who's been rocking with the show so far, and for coming up at Target Center and saying what's up, letting me know how much you love the show. Even if you hate the show, just lie to me, and we'll go from there. It's totally fine. If you are enjoying the show, though, I appreciate a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Like and subscribe, and also, just share the show with a friend. It's, I love word of mouth, grassroots marketing. It helps us grow the show a lot, and I'm always happy to connect with more Lynx fans. I have been Terry Horseman. You have been excellent Lynx fans. And until next time, thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.